I need to cite you as a cautionary tale to help my country. And the moral of that tale is, yes, you can move too far left. And when you do, you wind up pushing the people in the middle to the right. At its worst, Canada is what American voters think happens when there's no one putting a check on extreme wokeness. Have you ever seen the Eurovision Song Contest? They actually listen to that crap. Look, everywhere in the world, I'm sure, seems great when you haven't lived there. I hear people tell me Costa Rica is beautiful. I'm sure it is. You'll also get bitten by a snake on the flight over.
On the woke left, criticizing America has almost become a form of performance. Praise often appears only when their side is in power, but the moment they lose control, the country is suddenly described as a disaster. Bill Maher quickly points out what he sees as this hypocrisy. In his commentary, he strongly criticizes the attitude and challenges those who constantly speak negatively about the country.
I'm confused by this political message. Vote for me because I hate it here. Now, does America have big problems? Yes, I've often cited the America sucks list. Things like being 54th in the world in infant mortality behind Cuba, 19th in literacy behind Russia, 72nd in female representation in government behind Iraq. A lot of work to do here. And is it possible for a country to lose itself so much that leaving it is justified? Yes, but we're not there yet, not by a long shot, and we don't need quitters. We need people who will stay and fix.
Bill Maher didn't hold back in his criticism. He argued that America doesn't need people who give up when things become difficult. Instead, it needs individuals who are willing to face challenges and work to fix the problems. According to Maher, real change cannot happen if people claim to care about the country but abandon it whenever things don't go their way. He believes patriotism means persistence, responsibility, and the willingness to stay and improve what is broken.
Maybe the problem isn't that America isn't worth defending. Maybe the problem is that lots of people today are entitled whiners who have no perspective and no idea how good they have it. 59% of self-identified liberals say there have been times when they considered leaving America for good, like after NBC canceled The West Wing. I don't get it. You want so badly for every immigrant to come to this country and experience the good life, but somehow it's so terrible you...
Maher also pointed out what he sees as a contradiction in the thinking of some on the woke left. On one hand, they support policies that encourage immigration and celebrate America as a land of opportunity. On the other hand, they often describe the country as deeply flawed and talk about leaving it. Maher believes this sends confusing signals to voters. His argument is not only about policy, but also about attitude, suggesting that constant negativity can weaken public confidence and divide citizens.
If for your exile, you do wind up in some comparatively luxurious place like Canada or Japan or the UK, not that they want you. At best, you'll be trading a bunch of stuff you hate about this country for a bunch of stuff you'll soon hate about your new home. It took me only 4 days in Amsterdam to learn that while I admire Amsterdam, I don't want to live there. The buildings are cramped and shaped like needles. The food is awful. The TV's in a different language. It's wet and cold. The people are polite but cold, and they do a bunch of weird shit. The explanation for, according to my friend, was just remember they're high.
Maher argues that the issue may not always be the country itself, but the mindset behind the criticism. While America has its problems, he believes it still offers opportunities, freedoms, and influence that many countries try to imitate. People around the world continue to apply for visas and work hard for the chance to move to the United States. According to Maher, instead of focusing only on flaws, it is important to recognize the broader picture and the opportunities the country still provides.
He always makes the list of great expat destinations because of all those stories on CNN about how you can buy a house in a quaint Italian village for $1, except it's not a house in the way we think of one, as a structure with plumbing and electricity and a roof. When these places were built, the Leaning Tower of Pisa was still straight. Sure, you can spend $100,000 to make them livable, and I'm sure it's no problem to find reliable workmen in rural Italy who you'll then fall in love with like in Under the Tuscan Sun, but But now you're living in some dinky village in Italy with nothing to do but watch the old guys play that game with the wooden balls.
Maher also criticized the way some political and media narratives portray other countries as perfect alternatives to the United States. According to him, many of these portrayals present a polished image that doesn't fully reflect reality. Clean streets, efficient systems, and peaceful societies are often highlighted, while the challenges faced by people living there receive far less attention. Maher warns that this idealized image can create unrealistic expectations and cause people to overlook both the strengths and the challenges of their own country.
Have you ever seen the Eurovision Song Contest? They actually listen to that crap. Look, everywhere in the world, I'm sure, seems great when you haven't lived there. I hear people tell me Costa Rica is beautiful. I'm sure it is. You'll also get bitten by a snake on the flight over. The travel site Lonely Planet describes Sri Lanka as endless beaches, timeless ruins, welcoming people. And if you love child marriage, food shortages, and the strictest abortion laws in the world, Sri Lanka could be right for you.
Maher encourages people to look more closely before placing other countries on a pedestal. He argues that many nations often praised as perfect examples have their own strict laws, economic challenges, and social tensions. In some cases, freedoms that Americans take for granted may be more limited. According to Maher, the solution is not to run away from problems, but to acknowledge the strengths of the country and work toward improving its weaknesses.
But I hate zombie lies. That's when things change, but what people say about them doesn't. Yes, for decades, places like Vancouver and Amsterdam and Stockholm seemed idyllic because everything was free and all the energy we needed was produced by riding a bike to your job at the windmill. Canada was where all the treasured goals of liberalism worked perfectly. It was like NPR come to life. But with poutine. Canada was the Statue of Liberty with a low-maintenance haircut and cross-country skis, a giant idealized blue state with single-payer health care, gun control, and abortion on polite demand.
Canada is often mentioned as a possible alternative by people who feel frustrated with American politics. However, Maher argues that the idealized image of Canada does not always match reality. Like any country, Canada faces its own challenges, including economic pressures, rising housing costs, and political disagreements. Maher's message is that no country is perfect, and assuming that another nation offers an easy solution can lead to disappointment.
There's only one problem with thinking everything's better in Canada. It's not. Not anymore, anyway. Last year, Canada added 1.3 million people, which is a lot in 1 year, the equivalent of the U.S. adding 11 million migrants in 1 year. And now, they're experiencing a housing crisis even worse than ours. And we're sleeping in tents. The median price of a home here is $346,000. In Canada, converted to US dollars, it's $487,000. If Barbie moved to Winnipeg, she wouldn't be able to afford her dream house, and Ken would be working at Tim Hortons.
Housing costs in Canada have become a major concern in recent years. In cities like Vancouver, the average home price has climbed to extremely high levels, while household incomes have not kept pace. This creates a large affordability gap for many families. In several major Canadian cities, the price-to-income ratio has risen above 10, meaning homes cost more than 10 times the average annual household income. For people imagining Canada as a perfect escape, these economic realities can be surprising.
Vaunted healthcare system, which ranks dead last among high-income countries in access to primary healthcare and ability to see a doctor in a day or two. And it's not for lack of spending. Of the 30 countries with universal coverage, Canada spends over 13% of its economy on it, which is a lot of money for free health care. Look, I'm not saying Canada still isn't a great country. It is, but those aren't paradise numbers. If Canada was an apartment, the lead feature might be America adjacent. And if America was a rental car, Canada would be America or similar.
That brings us to the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more content. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.